away from another no-hitter. 2-2. Snaps it off for strike three called. The throw to first to complete a no-hitter for Gavin Weir. He is human dominance.
Gavin Weir of South Dakota throws, yes, you heard that correctly, another no-hitter. He is unreal. He's the story of the Little League World Series this year. We're going to go through some of his stats later, but it is crazy, and we enjoy these kinds of stories of the Little League World Series. I don't watch the games. I used to kind of like to watch the games, but I'll be honest with you, I love sports. I do not love sports enough to watch Little League Baseball anymore. I elect to continue living my life, but I do pay attention to it. There's a viral video last night, the most interesting story from Little League World Series. Dave Portnoy, the president of Barstool Sports and other stuff, appeared to capture a kid showing a picture of a very busty grown woman to another kid at the Little League World Series. So what did he title it? Boys Will Be Boys, something like that. This is interesting to see, the Daily Sports Podcast about news, narratives, takes, and gambling. Big news in the NFL. We're going to get to NFL, of course, but we are going to continue our coverage of the Rachel Nichols mess at ESPN. ESPN announced yesterday, I guess you could say announced, that they have removed Rachel Nichols from NBA coverage. So that means that she used to do sideline stuff, she used to do in-game stuff, and she had a show called The Jump. Now, The Jump essentially, I have no idea what it was. I never watched it. It was a show where people talked about the NBA. This is what Rachel Nichols tweeted. Quote, got to create a whole show and spend 5 years hanging out with some of my favorite people, talking one of my favorite things, basketball emoji. An eternal thank you to our amazing producers and crew. The Jump was never built to last forever, but it sure was fun. It was never built to last forever. I don't think that... Are you seriously trying to claim to me that like this is like, oh, it's coming to an end? They didn't come to an end. You said some racist stuff and then maybe hooked up with one of the players, allegedly, and they can't have her covering the NBA anymore. So fall from grace for Rachel Nichols. I'm sure we'll see her at Fox or probably covering college basketball at some point. I'm not exactly sure, but there's plenty of basketball to be covered. She's famous. She gets eyeballs on the screen, and that's really what matters the most. Hard Knocks. We did discuss earlier how Hard Knocks, it appears like the ratings tanked. Whoa, check this out. This is a bigger indication of exactly what people are watching. 3.5 million people watched across all platforms, so less than 300,000 watched the premiere of Hard Knocks.
Only 9% of plastic is recycled, no matter how much we put.
God, don't you hate websites that do that to you? They just like make you like listen to their stuff. This is an embedded video. It makes me want to buy the competitor of their products. Anyway, less than 300,000 people watched the debut of Hard Knocks, the premiere on HBO, but more than 3.5 million viewers watched across all platforms, quote unquote. That means that streaming has officially taken over subscriptions. Like subscriptions are streaming now. The internet is how people watch TV. TV is dying or dead, depending on who you ask, and that includes me. So we all digress. We all must admit that the Cowboys are indeed interesting to everybody. Congrats to Hard Knocks. It is incredibly boring, remarkably boring. I did not talk about it on Wednesday because it sucked. I didn't watch longer than 10 minutes. I was like, oh, this is a commercial. I don't care. Hard Knocks is so boring. It's incredibly, stupidly boring. Okay, let's talk about Gavin Weir before we get to more NFL stuff. So Gavin Weir, get this. These are his stats. He is, the guys at Barstool Sports are calling him Mini Chris Sale because the guys at Barstool Sports are from Chicago and Boston, and Chris Sale pits for Chicago and Boston, and they are unsure of the existence of other cities in the United States at Barstool Sports. However, he has thrown his fourth no-hitter of the Little League season. Fourth. 114 strikeouts, over 600 pitches. He has given up one hit as a Little League pitcher. Did you hear that? One. He has given up one hit in 600 pitches. The way to win the Little League World Series is have a bunch of adequate guys and then one freak who nobody can hit, who goes through puberty and understands how to bench press before everybody else. And that's always fun. There are documentaries about it. It's really enjoyable. Hopefully it doesn't completely ruin his elbow, but the way he's throwing benders and sliders, we will probably never see him in the show because his elbow will require probably multiple surgeries when this is all said and done. He has not gone through puberty to the point where his wrist can do that. The human arm is not meant to throw that way. even for the adults. All right, let's go to the NFL. Big story about Matthew Stafford came out yesterday on ESPN via Seth Wickersham. Matthew Stafford was trending in the news. A lot of interesting stuff about the Stafford Goff, and I promise, I said we're going to get into it. We're going to get into it, I promise. Just not right now. So here is a quote from the Stafford article. This is a quote from the article that is a quote from Stafford. Quote, "What do you want out of the rest of your career?" asked Wickersham. Stafford pauses and looks me in the eye. "I just want to play in big games, you know. I want to have opportunities to make big-time plays in the fourth quarter against really good teams in big moments rather than a 1 o'clock game on a Sunday somewhere." Unquote. Wow, that hurts for Lions fans, of course. It's also fascinating because, like, as a former Lions fan, I can tell you that some of the reasons there weren't big games is because it didn't make the plays in the medium-sized games. That being said, the fascinating part about this that I can't, like, this is Narrative Watch 101. Matthew Stafford was traded. He did not have a no-trade clause. He was traded to the highest bidder. He and many other NFLers, including Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, and players, they're all on vacation at the same time because the season is cyclical. They're all in Cancun, and they were hanging out, daydreaming. What would it be like? That's, by the way, another word for that is tampering. But he didn't choose the Rams. This isn't like a thing where, like, I wanted to go somewhere where I could win. Like, dude, you went to the highest bidder, and because they knew you were hanging out with him, the price was enormous. Enormous. Like, there's this narrative starting that this is a great marriage. It's not a marriage. His football skills were an asset that were traded for an enormous, enormous take. They traded one quarterback for a former first overall pick quarterback and 3 draft picks, 2 of which are first rounders. So this narrative that he chose or that this is a marriage, it is not. This is a sale. They sold him for an incredible price. But I do understand that situation. But we're going to find out this year if quarterback wins are a stat. We'll just leave it at that. The article is really fascinating, and I do like him as a person. I think he gets a bad rap for a lot of stuff. He's a really private person, and it was a good read. It's just this narrative that this is the thing that they're doing together is just factually not true. He was traded. He did not have a no-trade clause. Speaking of quarterbacks, Teddy Bridgewater has won the job for the Denver Broncos for now, beating out former second-round pick Drew Lock. Teddy Bridgewater is one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL at managing games. Also, this is the most important part about this. Teddy Bridgewater is 36-14 as a starter against the spread for all of you bettors. That's right. Against the spread, he is such a good game manager. They never get blown out, and they always do better than what Vegas thought they would do. That is crazy. And it's something to consider this year because the Broncos have the best roster in football, top to bottom, except for the quarterback position, which is why everyone was freaking out when Aaron Rodgers was available. Aaron Rodgers is available. He goes to the Broncos. They're probably going to win the Super Bowl. In my not humble opinion, they are a better roster, top to bottom, than the defending Super Bowl champion Tampa Bucks. And I wonder what this is going to do to the spread. If things move, I'll look into that. I haven't been able to find anything definitive about whether or not this moved the spread one way or the other, but it did to me appear as if Vegas is aware of the fact of who's been named the starting quarterback in Denver, which is good. Congratulations to Teddy. Other quarterback news, of course, Trevor Lawrence has been named the starter for Jacksonville. A bit of shocking news that the number 1 overall pick and the thing that is essentially keeping the franchise in the United States of America has been indeed named the starting quarterback. I wouldn't blame Urban Meyer. In fact, I would think it was smart if they didn't, just because he's going to get killed. He almost got killed, and he just in the last preseason game, he ran up the middle and he did like a helicopter thing. He dove for a first down in a preseason game. Like, oh, well, this guy doesn't get it. I'm just trying to be a competitor. He said something stupid like, I'm trying to be a competitor. No, you need to try to be a resource that is to be protected. Imagine that you have round-the-clock observation. That's what they need from you, man. They don't need a first down. I promise. They do not need a first down in a preseason game. All right, we'll wrap up with some baseball and touch on some fantasy stuff. When I started this, I wanted to preview media and rank podcasts and do all that kind of stuff. And so I'm going to do that to wrap up today. But before we do that, congrats to the Baltimore Orioles who snapped their 19-game losing streak by beating the Angels, who have the best player in the world and one of the top 20 or 30 pitchers in baseball pitching. So that the worst team in baseball, one of the worst teams in the history of baseball, which is enormous, beats the best team sport athlete on planet Earth, and perhaps ever, in Shohei Ohtani. So nothing makes sense. Baseball is silly. And I guess congrats to the Orioles. My heart breaks. Owners taking advantage of the wishes of fans is so sad. They should all be forced to spend a minimum amount of money, in my not at all humble opinion. This is Fantasy Week in NFL podcasts. We are doing fantasy as well. Sleepers and whatnot all coming tomorrow Friday. Around the NFL, the best NFL podcast, they've got fantasy. Pick 6 NFL podcast with Will Brinson. They're doing fantasy and DFS all week, so you can learn about different things. Definitely recommend the Pick 6 NFL podcast and the Around the NFL podcast. But they are absolutely blowing the cover on some of the guys I like Jalen Hurts and Amon-Ra St. Brown. So we'll have links to all of that in the show notes as well. Like, rate, review, subscribe, spam your boss and your family. Trying to get the numbers up before the end of football season. All right, guys, I'll be back and better than ever tomorrow morning.